episode, let's talk about mental health. It is very important. So this is a very good book that I always refer to. I have had this book for over 10 years, maybe more. And it's very interesting because it is always talking about being and being authentic. And I think that in order to become authentic, you have to be very, very clear about who you are. Extremely clear about who you are. And that starts with your being. And this book is very interesting because it's asking us, what is being? What is it? Do you know? In order to define being, I think it's important to understand the concept of self first. The self. So it is a set of characteristics that when they're assembled together, they provide us with an idea of who we are, or a set of ideas of who we think we are. And that's important. We think we are. You understand? Whereas being is intrinsic to you, intrinsic to me, and intrinsic to that specific entity. Okay? A plant is intrinsically a plant. Cannot be anything else but a plant. See, the differences between a plant and an animal and an object, could be a book, is that every single one of them don't have the ability to identify themselves with something else. Humans, we have that ability. So when we identify ourselves with this set of characteristics and we think that we are this specific human being, we might not be completely authentic with our true being. So authenticity is important. Authenticity is you be yourself because you cannot be anything else or anybody else. And that's important. And I think in these times, there's a lot of issues with trying to be someone who we are not. And that creates stress, that creates frustration, that creates trauma, that creates all these mental issues. So the definition of being, as I said before, is intrinsically to that specific entity. Now, I cannot identify myself as a mango fruit. I cannot identify myself as a piece of paper, right? Because I am not intrinsically that. We are the only species that perhaps know that we know. See? And that's the difference between a cat or a dog or an orange. We know that we know. And that makes us very, very unique. Now, how can we begin to heal our minds? I think it's important to understand these concepts so that we can approach the healing modalities, whatever they are or whatever we choose, with the clear understanding of being. And I think if we start our process of healing by knowing who we really are, not from the perspective of self, not from the intellectual standpoint, but from the intrinsic state of being, I think it's a huge step for the beginning of our healing. This book is really, really good. I've had this book for many years, as I said. The Book of Not Knowing, this is a great book. And I want to read a passage real quick. I think it's, let me see, it's this one, yes. What is being? Being is what we really are. It is what is simply so. That's being. So We cannot be or try to be anybody else but ourselves. Now, if we pretend to be someone else and we live a life identified with something else or someone else, that is a false self. Now, don't get me wrong. People go to school and they study and become lawyers. They say, I am a lawyer. Yes, from the intellectual standpoint, you are a lawyer, or you are a doctor, or you're a teacher, right? Or you're a surfer. See? That is the intellectual step. And we need this identification for societal purposes. Otherwise, I don't think a group of oranges, put them in a container, they will say, hey, how are you? My name is such and such, because they don't have that ability. I hope I'm making sense. And this is a beautiful, beautiful opportunity to share my perspectives, to share some knowledge, and be able to create a community. And I'm really, really enjoying this. So I think I'm going to end it here. And I will see you on the next one. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.